Do you actually need color correction? Hello and welcome back to my weekly video tips for busy entrepreneurs who want to level up their video game, because I am a video editor, coach / creative director, and I help busy entrepreneurs really step into their power and leverage the playful tool that is video, because business can be fun and it can be super recognizable without having to jump on the trends and doing all the apps. No, you do not have to do that. But video can work really well, and it is the future, and so many apps are gearing more towards video for a reason, because people love it. You can condense so much information in a short video. Could be very short clips, could be longer clips for like YouTube, but they really give and portray a sense of what your business is about. They give certain emotions through the visuals, through the way it's paced, through the colors and the framing. And speaking of colors, this is today's topic. Do you actually need color correction? A lot of people, especially those who do not really edit their videos much, don't even think about color. Like, it's like an afterthought, maybe, or not even a thought at all. Maybe the only way you think about color is what pops up in your frame, and that's super important. It's more important than color correction. What goes on in your frame? Is it too busy? Is it too colorful? Are those colors that do not actually work with your brand? Because when you create your branding, right, you have a certain color scheme, you have certain hex codes that really show what your vibe is, like your main colors, like which are usually 3 or 5 colors, and those you use throughout every instance where you show up online, in your social media apps, in your copy, in your prints, wherever you are. You have those signature colors, and they should pop up in your video as well, in your background, in the way you dress, in the way your video is filmed. So maybe warmer colors, cooler colors, all of those have an effect, because there's such a thing as color psychology, and you want to use that for your video as well. But you can step up a little bit more and use that also to color correct. You know, color correction is more advanced, because you need to have good photo, video editing software to do that and tweak it, and you do not have to be an expert on it. There are people whose main job or only job is to color correct, and it is such a skill. I can't say I have mastered it entirely. I know the basics, and I'm fine with that. You know, and if I want more, I can outsource it. Cool. But the idea is that you understand the principles behind the need for it. But I just want you to think about where would you need to tweak your colors. Number one, the footage isn't that great. So the main thing is that you actually shoot good footage. So you do not feel the need to tweak it that much. You do not want to oversaturate in the first place. So usually shoot in neutral if you can, on your phone, on your camera. Don't tweak the saturation too much. If you can go into video editing, if you don't edit at all, yes, you can go and do that. Unless it doesn't fit with your branding and you usually have muted colors, turn that off. Put it to neutral. Go into your settings and set your colors to neutral. Right, next is the white balance. You want to see what works with your skin tone if you are in your own videos, right? So if you are more of a warmer colored person or cooler tones, yes, your skin color also affects this, but it's mostly the underlying pigmentation that really affects the hues, right? The warmer or cooler tones. That's what I'm talking about. And that also resonates with what shows up in your frame. Again, you want to think about what shows up in your frame, and you want to film it accordingly. Again, it would be really good if you have the white balance maybe on auto. That's usually good enough. You don't need to tweak too much with it. The cameras nowadays are so good to pick up exactly the good white balance. If it feels off, take a white sheet of paper, hold it against the camera, set it to white, and it will automatically correct it for you. If you film indoors and you use artificial lighting, that's where you need to step and check your white balance, because it could give off more of a tungsten look, like an orangey look or a bluish look, and that's something you want to correct. Preferably when you film, not afterwards. You can do it afterwards in the color correction. But remember, it's always best to film it well, so you do not actually have to go into post-production and change it, right? So that's the most important lesson I want you to teach you about color correction, that you don't need it when you film well, right? But also, when you figured out your tones and when you figured out in your branding what the overall vibe is, you maybe want to double down on that and make it very subtly, but make the changes. This is where the color correction comes in. So number 3 is going actually into your software and tweaking with the contrasts. So if you want more of an elegant feel, then usually the contrast should be higher, right? But if you want something that's less glossy, more cinematic, more retro, mute those contrasts. And they shouldn't be super black, they should be very soft, very grayish. You've seen it in a lot of movies now. That's like currently the trend. There's lots of filters on the apps doing that for you. But you should use a productions, like a better software to do that, not just do that in the app. Especially if you want to upload higher quality videos on YouTube or your website. Not necessarily do it through the apps, unless you always do it. You know, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just if it comes down to quality, a solid program is the way to go. And yeah, mute your contrasts and also turn down your highlights and maybe a little bit of the brightness to add more of a softer glow, a little bit more of, a retro feel that gives off more cinematic vibes, right? So you don't have sharpness in your images. Everything is in focus, but it's not super sharp, which is also important when you stage your shot, when you figure out the colors. Everything should feel like it blends together, and you can create that in your color correction. So you can change the shadow colors, you can change the color of the highlights, you make it more into a greener area, make it more bluish, make it more reddish, and really bring out your signature colors that way. Very subtly, it doesn't have to be lots, and you can turn down or up the saturation and dynamics so the colors really pop or they don't pop, depending on what your style is and your vibe you're going for, right? And that's how you do the color correction that helps subtly and subliminally underline your message, because everything, like I always say, should be an extension of your brand, should portray a feeling and should really translate that so people can easily feel it, right? You don't want people confused or guessing or getting a whiplash from your videos just constantly changing tone, right? If you have your color correction established, you can export that as a preset, slap it on every single video that follows after. Instantly you have a coherent vibe. Put that as a template. You can always tweak it, but it's good to already establish the look. That way you can write down your main parameters and ideas, like do you want muted tones, do you want stark shadows or less shadows, do you want it to be super bright, less bright, lots of color, less color. Write all that down, save the preset. So you can also really easily send it to a video editor who uses the same program, so they know exactly how you want it to look. It's just a quick transfer of data. Really cool. You can also weave that into a template. And about templates, we're going to talk about next week. So stay tuned, don't forget to follow and like, and also leave me a comment if you have any questions on a video. And I would also really love to hear if you've ever thought about color in your videos, and if you wanted to color correct even in the slightest way. It can make such a huge difference, and usually the viewer doesn't even know. They don't recognize it. And actually the best videos are those where people don't pick up on all of the things. They usually pick up on things that are wrong, so if they don't pick up on anything, it's usually good. And if you want to learn more about how to actually set up your space so you figured it out once and don't have to worry about it next time, and also how to work with the colors, work with the staging, what to wear as well, because some outfits look terrible on camera, and so you need to know what to avoid and what really works for you. And those are outlined in short videos with cool actionable steps and worksheets in my online course, which you can grab easily down below. So check that one out, click the link. And so I would love to hear from you, and I will see you next week for more videos. Bye.